ControlTalk now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending February 25th, 2018. This is episode 256, where we talk about all things smart building, intelligent building, HVAC controls, as well as a myriad of other stuff. But what would a show be without the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the football playing, paddle tennis playing man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Benny Smyers? Welcome to the show, a big dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. It's good to be here as always. And I'm a football watching man now, not a football playing, because that's just too it's beyond my skill sets. But I can watch football with the best of them.
Well, you remember I was telling you about it. I had an Uber drive back a couple weeks ago, and the guy and my Uber driver was a pretty beefy guy, and it turned out he played football at Bitburg Air Force Base and knew you, man. You were like a superstar punter, backup quarterback, receiver, safety. So he was in awe of you, man. He said, "You mean the man, the myth, the legend?" So I'm not the first one to be calling you that, dude.
Well, you know, those were the great times, glory days. I did punt. I punted 3 out of the 4 years, but and then I wanted to play. So wherever I had the greatest chance of playing is where I went to. So it's defense, and then I played quarterback and tight end. So those were great days. And there's a great network of people, the Continental Sports Conference, the United Kingdom Conference, and the Mediterranean Conference. I mean, people don't realize it, but we had a full-blown, I don't know, Division 2 or 3 style. We had some people that played for the Air Force Academy. Our starting quarterback played for the Air Force Academy and flew F-15s Monday through Friday and played football Saturdays and Sundays. But we had a whale of a time. It was some of the greatest times. And we recently had a reunion, and you got to see some of these guys, and most of them are still well preserved. I guess once an athlete, always an athlete. So it's good times. But
this guy was telling me, which was kind of cool. I think you echoed the same thing. He was saying that the Commanders, they played for this cup or whatever. They said they were so competitive, and he said that his master sergeant he missed whatever because he had practice, and he goes, "Where were you?" And he goes, "I was at practice."
No, he was at work, and he missed practice. Yeah, because what happened was he missed practice, so the coach, the commander called his coach up and said,
It started out with the master sergeant chewing his butt, and then the commander wanted to know why he wasn't at practice, and he said the master sergeant said he wasn't paying me to play football, and then at the next drill, the next day, the commander comes and looks at the master sergeant and says, my airman missed football practice. Maybe you're not the right guy for this job if one person makes that big of a difference. So that's how that went down.
Well, I had a similar thing where the people that were doing the mission had no time for football. But the concept was General Gabriels, who's a 4-star general. I think he became chief of staff of the Air Force. And then we had Marcus Anderson. They would give us these pep talks. The commander would come into our football locker room and tell us that we wanted to play good, clean American football because these people in the stands here, they miss America, and you guys are part of the apple pie, and you better damn sure win because I don't want to give this guy a case of Bitburg beer, and they would be from Ramstein or Rhine, Maine or Zweibrücken or Wiesbaden. I mean, there were some good teams, and we might not have been the fastest people in the field or whatever, but it was ferocious hitting. It was good football. And they said that the better you play and the more a good experience the community has, the more airplanes we fly. We flew sorties. We had 72 F-15s at Bitburg, and it said it gave people something to talk about, and something to look forward to, and something to bring their family to. So there's a lot more to it than just the blood and guts of football. It's a community thing. It's an American sport, and we had a great big participation from the Germans. We actually had a fan club from Bitburg that would come and sit in the end zone and make a lot of noise.
It's big in Europe, isn't it? I mean, because you were doing security for like the World Football League for a while there too, but it's big in Europe, American football.
Well,
right?
it fluctuates. What's really big is the NFL properties. I mean, when I was there in 1991, one of the marketing representatives from the NFL said that they did $250 million back in 1991. And so it has grown. Of course, they have the big games in England, Berlin, but they had the World League of American Football for 4 years, I believe, but it kind of folded because it's very difficult to keep those amount of athletes, in a country for 3 months. So you get into all kinds of stuff with employment, taxes, or whatever. If you can go somewhere and work for 90 days, you can leave without paying that host country taxes. So it's very complicated as far as, the actual league performance. But yeah, we did the stadium security at Waldstadion at the time in Frankfurt, where the Frankfurt Galaxy played the London Monarchs. Was the initial game, and it was sold out. The Germans loved it. Now, they didn't call it a football; they called it an egg. So that goes back to your marketing. You got to do whatever it takes to get the local people interested in it. But one of the weirdest commercials I ever saw was "Coming, the American Egg," to Frankfurt.
American egg. Why do they call it an egg, dude?
Because to the Europeans, the football looks like an egg.
Oh, I see.
So, but it was very successful, and for us in security, it was an incredible thing because they likened the football crowd to the same rowdy crowd of a soccer crowd in Europe, that is a really difficult security assignment because they bring 20,000 people to a stadium and sit outside and just one incident after another. So there's an army of police, the Bereitschaftspolizei and the Bundesgrenzschutz. I mean, they run hundreds of people to separate the crowds because they travel on trains. And one of the coolest things that we learned in security was when the Frankfurt was getting ready for Bayern München to come to Frankfurt. The Frankfurt police dressed up as Bayern fans and went down to Munich, boarded the trains with the rowdies so that by the time they got to Frankfurt, they already identified who the biggest troublemakers were and ringleaders.
Wow.
And they didn't make it to the soccer game that day.
Wow. That's pretty clever. That is pretty clever.
So we didn't have any incidents like that. We had zero acts of violence because I told them football, I had to give a presentation to the Frankfurt police that that's not the way our football. And at college, or you can go to Cleveland or Baltimore and get yourself in trouble if you're from Pittsburgh wearing a jersey or something. But for the most part, people are, they all want to win, but they don't have a desire to go to the game to get into a fight. And the NFL has no mercy. You get into a fight, you lose your tickets. So if you're a season ticket holder, you get one and out. So,
well, listen, dude, let's get through some shout outs and then let's get on to the show. We got a incredible guest coming up in a little bit. So you got some shout outs this week, right, big dog?
We sure do. We're celebrating, we're helping to celebrate Aaron Gorka. He has 4 years at the RMRT, Rocky Mountain Road Trips. So Aaron, he's working for Ant Technology and also RMRT. We have Ron Schmitty, who's celebrating his 4th year at Cochrane Supply. And we have Leo Walden, Leedap. He's celebrating his 1st year anniversary at High Rose Consulting.
Actually, Leroy Walden. Leroy and I go way back. He and I got in business at the same. Leroy Walden. Remember we met Leroy out at Realcomm IBCon last year. I hope we get Leroy on the show. He listened. So hi, Leroy. I'll give you a shout out, Leroy. So Leroy worked for a couple of the major systems integrators here in town. Been around for a long time. Very, very knowledgeable, articulate individual, and I think we'll probably get to see him again at Realcomm IBCon this year.
Yeah, he's heading up the Smart Building Integrator Summit, and we've been very fortunate to be invited to that with Howard Berger, and it's going to be a great show again because you get those kind of people involved in the level of interest, as we're going to talk about later on the show, of the integration and what's all the disruption that's facing our industry. We need guidance, and we need people that can really filter things out for us and be the technology leader in our areas. And so, that'll become.
Where's Realcomm IBCon? It's in June usually, but where is it?
It's going to be at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas.
Oh my goodness!
So June 4th is going to be the pre-con. The Realcomm is 5 June through 7 June, and then there's a tour available 8 June where they're going to go into certain, take you to some interesting smart building integration. Of
I'm gonna,
course.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna tell you something. You know, you have confidence in your content, right? When you have a meeting at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas. So you obviously they got some, and they always do. So it doesn't surprise me, but that's a little risky, right? I mean,
Well, I just came from
so many shiny objects at the Cosmopolitan.
oh man, I tell you, they've got one of the top nightclubs, and you and I had experienced there with one of the Tritium summits. Remember,
Right.
we met Jenny Graves and her team up there at that nightclub, and it was it the Mirage? No, not the Mirage. What was that place called? I
It's the
actually have
Cosmopolitan, dude.
right, but I'm talking about the nightclub inside the
Yeah,
Cosmopolitan,
that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and boy, it was just a lot of fun. But I recently came from there. In fact, one or two of our posts are going to be kind of Las Vegas related.
Well, yeah, because you were out in Vegas winning millions of dollars. Kenny is this amazing poker player. Never play poker with him. Never play golf with him. Never gamble with him. Is the takeaway here, because he will take your money. And so, Kenny, where were you? What were you doing in Vegas, man? Besides winning money and having a
Well, I just let me. I'll get right to that, but I want to confirm. People invite me to go golf with them because they can take my money and take my lunch money from me, and then we didn't. We're not gamblers. I don't have I don't have a thirst for it. I wish I
this
played
is
the
where
lottery.
this is where it starts, folks. He'll let you take your lunch money away from him, but then before it's all over, you've given him your house. Okay, so listen, when he says, "I'm not a gambler," that's where it starts. So
Well, I'll tell you what
you've
it did.
been warned.
What wasn't a gamble was the 2018 Siemens
Nice.
Partner Summit. The theme focused on people, passion, and partnership. And Josh
Well
Felpman
done.
and John, they call him KZ, John Karsmarzik, who's the vice president of the business unit. So basically, it was it was a summit again. This was the Siemens, the softer side of Siemens was extended to us. Josh Felpern did an excellent job. We'll talk about his second night, but he really gave a warm welcome. He extended to the multitude of Siemens solution partners, Siemens leadership, and Siemens products experts. So that again, the people, passion, partnership, they're really flexing that concept, because the emphasis wasn't so much on products and actuators and VFDs and the new. They got some new controls that they came out with for the total room automation, and they have a DXR controller that's very formidable and has the lighting built into it. So, but I'll cover that probably in the second post. But yeah, the first night there was they showed a new interest in lighting that they believe is going to impact North America. It's already big in Europe, where you integrate the shading and you do so natural light harvesting versus internal heat loads. You let this algorithm determine which is more efficient, to use outside lighting or to use, because then if you bring in too much heat from the outside, then you got to bring in air conditioning on. And so this thing figures all those things out for you. But we'll cover some of that more in depth. But the gentleman, Chris Young from Lee Company, made a very impressive business case for gamma lighting. So it was actually a training kind of scenario where we used to always get pushback, so the lighting belongs in 26, and you got to worry about low voltage and high voltage wiring, and what does the people in division 23, the BAS and building management system, what does that have to do with it? Well, it has to do a lot, because you can no longer afford to put these new buildings up or do retrofits and not have total integration. And lighting is so important when it comes down to HVAC, efficiencies and comfort. The impact of lighting, I'm very impressed with how there's so many new metrics coming out where they talk about, with the school, they go typically through an 8-scene scenario in the course of one day at school. The circadian rhythm really came out again, how hospitals are using the freshness of light, the blue hueish tint, make people feel inspired, they make people feel better, and tend to have a better environment to get better. And then they could actually change, a day could go by faster because they can control the lighting, which tends to, the human body responds very dramatically to lighting conditions. So it's very interesting.
Very, very cool. And it was Josh Felber rocking the fedora.
He did. We'll just go right to day two, because the summary on day two, it hits a familiar signage there, Marilyn Monroe and Frank Sinatra. But
Wait a minute. That seems like that's happened before.
Well, the 2013 thing that we did in New York, and it was a very, very interesting Marilyn Monroe. This was the Las Vegas version of Marilyn Monroe. She was a little bit, I don't know, more
Mae West's.
Yeah, more Mae
West.
endowed Westus too. The one that we had was more of a singer, talented, but it was a lot of fun. You go to Las Vegas, it's but anyhow, day two started out with Dick Pope's looking forward in a marketing portfolio, Doug Anderson's digitalization of marketing, and Anika Adams' trends and compliance. It's very important to stay out of trouble when you get into some of these problem jobs, and people want outcomes, and so Nika said, don't let people put pressure on you. If you don't feel good about something, don't do it. And it's very good stuff. And then John Karsmarzik, they call him KZ, so you don't have to have trouble there. He said that safety, Siemens was so proud they've gone 2.5 million hours without an injury. And so first thing you talk about in any meeting is safety. They emphasize, don't take shortcuts of work. Don't drive fast to get to the office. Take the safest, soundest routes, and make safety important. So, but then as we know, the healthcare industry is extraordinarily important. And so one of the most insightful conversations, they had what was called a fireside chat, old Colin FDR and during the troubled times of the 40s and late 30s and early 40s was, just to have, there's a way to find solutions to problems. The healthcare industry also has a shortage of talented people, and they rely on their Siemens Talents partner as important functional collaboration and reliable business partnerships, so that when these big medical facilities and these campuses, they can't get enough internal talent and maintain them or get them to the level of training and sophistication they need to be, that you can turn to a partner, whether it's whoever brand you use or whatever the systems integrators, particularly the master systems integrators are becoming one of the primary solutions for people that have to maintain these giant portfolios, these campuses that involve multiple brands, multiple sets of equipment, challenges with the chillers, they've got emergency requirements, and so it's a critical environment, and they can't have a snafu. They can't have a letdown. They're talking about some of these critical operations, Eric, where they're using these real low temperatures for cryogenics and stuff. And if they lose the chiller or something goes bad, my gosh, it's catastrophic. It's not just like we're sending the service tech there. It's like game over. So they just have these real critical environments. So to hear the guy in charge of it, his name was. He was the vice chancellor of campus operations at the University of Arkansas for Medical Services. His name was Mark Kennedy, a very, very smart guy. He's been in the business a long time. And he was talking about some of the issues they had by getting talent, so that there is no university giving a medical facility degree, so you have facility managers specifically for hospitals or in the medical career field. There hasn't been a absolute certain course curriculum that takes you down that likely road, so he's all part about doing that. They're giving out associate's degrees now in certain schools in Arkansas.
Very cool. Well, we handle talent as you do, and it's a great product, and Siemens is on the move. So congratulations to those guys for a great conference. I know our Mike Bonner was out there, had good things to say about it as well. So,
right, Eric. Well, the transition here is that there's a big summit coming up, the Niagara Summit, where we come together to exchange ideas, make connections, determine the direction to take moving forward, especially in this period of disruption we're in, and have a lot of fun along the way. So think about it. 3 days of face-to-face interaction with developers, integrators, influencers, and prospects. So that would lead us to our...
Well, why don't we introduce our guest, because I think this guy's uniquely qualified to talk about all things control, and especially the summit.
He sure is. This is a really exciting opportunity, because this is one of the most important events in our industry. And we've got the man who knows it all coming on the show to talk about it. We have the Director of Vicon Automation, Energy, and Security with Tritium. We have Mr. Ed Merwin. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Welcome to the show, Ed.
Hey, always a pleasure to chat with you folks. So looking forward to it.
Well, Ed, I tell you, it's great to have you here, and I can't believe it, man. They're going to let us all go back to New Orleans again after nobody parties like a systems integrator, right?
That's true. They enjoy themselves. And, I really think that's an important part. We have some great content, some great partners coming, but the venue makes a big difference. It really does. It just kind of sets the tone. And I think it's a key part of making this event a success.
Well, and if you go to Control Trends, we actually have footage of that opening ceremony right there, behind the hotel in front of the Superdome. We've got footage of the parade, and I think it makes a huge statement, like you said. And I mean, Niagara is the Super Bowl product, if you will, and it just sort of makes sense that you guys do things in a big way. And if you haven't been to a Niagara Tritium conference, first of all, it's where you got to go if you're in the business. And secondly, you guys just do things top hat. So New Orleans is just an awesome place, and you will not be disappointed in the venue and what you'll learn. And speaking about that, Ed, talk a little bit about some of the things that are going to be happening at the conference this year.
Well, it's really, I've been fortunate enough to go to every single summit that we've ever had. And I will tell you, this is probably the most important and the most feature-packed one that we'll do. We've got 3 great tracks, actually, 4, in that we have our developer boot camp, which is on Sunday. So that allows people from all over the world to come. And we've already got registration from people from Asia Pacific, from Europe, the US. And they're going to get together and talk about a lot of different things on the developer side. They're going to be speaking about building applications and appliances. They're going to talk about mobile. They're going to talk about APIs and writing drivers. So that boot camp, even if it may be a little bit over your head, we encourage you maybe to sit in, if you really want to think about getting into the developer side of that. But so it's a real welcoming audience. We'll have the best of the best from Tritium there and the best of the best from the developer community there. So that's really exciting event, and that's on Sunday. Then we go into the regular, track sessions. We'll have an applications track, we'll call business track, and a new technologies or advanced technologies track during the 2 days. So we're really looking forward to that. We've got the applications track is being managed by James Johnson, and frankly, you couldn't have a better person pulling together the content. He's pulled together people again from all over the world to present on a lot of new features and functions that are coming out. Particularly, we're going to be releasing 4.6 very soon after the summit. It'll be in beta while we're there. And James has got a top-notch group of people that are going to present. And I do want to comment that, if I'm a system integrator or an end user, you really want to make sure that you have some engineers that go to that part of the business. That's 8 solid hours, 8 to 10 hours of solid learning. It is not going to be a bunch of PowerPoint. It's going to be examples. People are going to show you how to do things. I just can't think of a better way to spend your money or invest money than sending somebody to the summit, and an engineer in particular to the applications track.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, you got it all. It's got the location, it's got the ambience, it's got the 3 tracks: application, business, and advanced technology. But I'll tell you, it also has an extraordinary opportunity for networking. Tell us about some of the the sponsors, exhibitors, and the speakers, because I mean, this is unbelievable. It's like an all-star team.
It really is. And you know what, you folks know, there's no event that can run well without having the support of sponsors. And we have some fantastic people that have sponsored us throughout the years. I mean, some of the key sponsors this year, our highest ones are Conservit, Distech, Honeywell, Key to Act, KMC, Phoenix, and the Vicon team is there sponsoring as well. And then we are other traditional big folks, like the JCIs, and then also system integrators and developers are out there presenting now and sponsoring. Cochrane will be there. They'll be showing some of their new applications they've done, particularly one called Raven. ControlTalk Cadaro will be there, and they've been putting out some really cool products there. Active Logics will have a brand new product that they're going to announce at the show and going to demonstrate, and our friends at Neptronic as well. But I don't want to forget, there's so many others. I can't forget people that have supported us over the years that are going to be there as well. So the Link Spring, we're going to have, Alper will be there from BAS Graphics, and Alper always has some really cool stuff. People from Europe and Asia, GC5 will be there from Poland with some really great products like IO products and some portability products. So again, the
They're new.
sponsor.
They're new. Well, we haven't heard of them before, I don't think yet. Are they new? They new on the scene in the U.S.?
Well, you know, GC5 is really been very popular in Europe, and they started off making I/O modules and some Sedona controllers, but they're going to announce a portability product, the Niagara 4 base controller product line, and an I/O line there that I just had a chance to discuss it with them and get a preview, and it's some pretty exciting stuff. And not only them, one of the key things, you know, what's really neat about this particular summit is there's going to be a lot of portability product. You know, it's not just Niagara running on a Jace anymore. It's running on a lot of different platforms. So GC5 will have a controller. LinkSpring's got that great 534 product that they'll be showing. Phoenix Contact, you know, will be running Niagara 4 on their industrial, you know, PLC platform. And Kadaro has done a great job of, you know, taking portability to the Dell Gateway. So it's not just in, you know, Tritium doesn't have to sell you the hardware anymore. You know, the model is software and portability. So we're kind of excited about that.
Well, you know, Ed, just stop there for a minute, because I think that's a big trend for our community to realize. It's like you can put Niagara in a pocket. I mean, it's portable now. That's a big deal. The ramifications of that are sort of huge. You know, and I sort of applaud you guys for making it available. It's like you get the same great software and sort of whatever package you want it in. But what does that mean, do you think, to I mean, it means a lot, but in your opinion, what are some of the benefits of that?
Well, you know, what our customers have always said is they would like to see one set of tools end to end. They, you know, you folks kind of captured the term, the race to the small space. Well, in that small space, the same tool that programs adjacent is tens of thousands of people out there that are certified to do that. They would like to see that down at the fan coil unit level, down at the VAV box level, down at the rooftop unit level. So we're trying to make the software affordable and available to run on what are some very powerful platforms now. It's amazing that, you know, we can run Niagara on a very inexpensive set of chips. And we're going to be actually introducing also at the summit a Jace that's licensed for 10 points. Wow. So, you know, we want to make sure that people can, and again, not limiting anything. You'll still get all the great trending and the graphics and the tool set and the cybersecurity that's built in, but you'll be able to afford to buy a 10-point system, because that's where the customer said they want us to go. So I think it's got a lot of ramifications. It's, you know, we always said we want the best of breed products out there, and now you can have best of breed hardware that you can get from multiple vendors. I think that's great.
So to me, it's a little bit like, you know, Niagara's like a Ferrari engine, right? And normally you just had to get it in a Ferrari, but now you're saying, hey, you can put this Ferrari engine on your bicycle if you want to.
That's a great analogy, right? I think it really is. And everybody assumes we're taking out some of the power. We're really not. We're just saying, hey, if you only need 10 points, we want to make Niagara available to you, affordable for 10 points. So that's going to be really exciting. It's a tremendous, and that's on the low end, but then on the high end, we're going to be talking about some new cloud apps. We're actually going to be talking about a lightweight supervisor that you'll be able to buy as a service in the cloud. And our partners we're going to be talking in the business track about third-party cloud apps. That's the other cool thing about it. You know, we don't have to build all these cloud apps. Actually, Larry Andrionis will be moderating a panel of several different people there with some really nice cloud app, including maintenance management, energy management, analytics. So really looking forward to that in the business track. Because the key about the business track is not going to be talking about everybody's product. We've got a lot of end users that are going to talk about solutions. So the whole idea of the business track is we're not going to give you a commercial. Now, we're going to talk to you about what's really going on cool with 4.6, because we have some awesome features that are coming out with that. But we're going to be bringing people from the community to talk about how do I do things better.
Well, to that point, some of the speakers you have and some of the visionaries, a lot of people in the industry are you know, in the midst of a disruption, one way or the other, whether it's in the software side of things or the hardware side of things. But the good thing is you can have people there too that are really going to dovetail all this in. So you got some great technology. You got the Niagara coming, you know, emerging to Niagara 6, but you also have some people there that are going to pretty well give us an idea of what's happening in our industry.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, we have people like Mark Peacock is going to moderate a section on IT and OT. Right?
Right.
People are saying, hey, it used to be everybody was on the same IT network and people wanted it. Well, now people want operational technology networks that are separated. So we're going to be talking about that. And we're not going to be talking about products. We're going to be talking about why people are doing that. We're also going to be talking about disruption. Our good friend Scott Cochran will be talking about master system integrators and what master system integrators talking about how their business has changed. You talk about disruptive, the whole market's changing, right? We're going from temperature control people to master system integrators, but we have to go end to end. We have to do temperature controls right, and we have to do master system integration right. So I think this can be some great discussion there. People like John Petsy, who is going to be there talking about not only tagging, but he's going to talk about analytics. But we're going to talk about why should you use tagging and why are analytics important, not just analytics for analytics' sake. So that's what we're really trying to drive in the business side of that.
Yeah, Ed, I want to hop in because, Kenny and I have been talking a lot, and one of the trends we're seeing is, you got to have your messaging right. And I think we got a lot of people out there that can walk the walk, right? But now more than ever, you got to be able to talk the talk. And if you're trying to talk IO to owners and your customers, you're friggin' dead, man. You have got to talk solutions. And, it seems to me like that this may be a pivot point for a lot of people. That seems like the theme that you guys are coming up with is, hey, we're going to teach you how to talk the talk and walk the walk if you don't already know how to do that. But I think that's a key distinction. It's if you go in and talk to a customer now about, like I say, ins and outs, you're not getting anywhere because you're seeing that from everybody. If you go and talk to a customer about how things are being used and why they're being used and have the questions to ask that sort of help those customers make good decisions, that's going to be a key component to you winning in the future. And now.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the title of the analytics one is Don't Sell Analytics, Sell Solutions. Yeah. Everybody's sick and tired of hearing about analytics, but what they really want to hear about is what problems do we solve with analytics. So nobody ever sees the analytics, they only see the solution. So that's what we're really excited. And another one that we're doing is we're going to talk about, we have so many new, great young people coming into this industry that, we need to talk to them about value propositions again. So Scott Boehm and I and John Jarvis from our training, we're going to talk about some new solution selling training that we're going to offer. It's a combination of technology and good old value propositions. And we're going to talk about the fact that, we certify all these people technically. I think it's time we certify sales reps so they understand the technologies and can walk into a customer with credibility.
Let me get this right. Now, are you going to be teaching that?
I'm okay. Certainly going to be doing this session, and I'm putting together what I've been doing for many years, Scott and I, and we're going to build a certification program around how to work with end users by selling solutions.
Yeah, brilliant. And for our Control Trends community who might not know who our guest is this week, without Ed Merwin, I don't think any of us would be selling Tritium right now. Ed was the guy that sort of at the beginning was the evangelist that went out and talked to all of us, convinced us that we need to get away from these proprietary things and these digital, the thermostats and stuff like that. So if Ed is going to offer this wisdom, because, it was either that, Ed, or we were going to petition to have your brain sort of, sucked out, your consciousness sucked out, put like in a computer so people can access you, because we cannot lose that knowledge. And you're talking about giving it away.
Well,
no, I didn't say give it away.
No, let me tell you, you folks know I've traveled around to each of y'all's offices, and we've been doing this for a lot of years, but we now have to make this a standard. We have to make it easier for people. We have to put it online so that, a lot of younger folks, they don't want to sit in 3 days worth of classes, but they'll sit there at midnight and they'll go online and watch a video and say, you know what, I learned something. I learned how to present analytics solutions instead of analytics. So what we're trying to do is make learning easier and make it better, and frankly, just capture some of the lessons that I've been fortunate to learn over many years, and let people know that I and my team, we love to mentor new folks coming into the industry, and it's a new combination of people coming into the industry now.
Right.
Look at the people like Intel and Dell and that are coming into the industry. So there's a lot of people that have a lot to learn. Some of us old dogs have to learn the cloud side and the IT side. And I think we can teach some of the IT people and some of those people what's the real life of being in a boiler room. So the whole idea is we're trying to pull that together.
Well, hang on. I got to hop in here, Ed, because listen, the one thing that people don't focus on a lot in sales is sequence. And I mean, we got sequence operations with our controls, and that's a big deal. But you definitely are a sequence guy. And let's give the guys a flavor and girls a flavor for, one of the things a veteran like you does that most people won't. And and you told me, and I've seen you in action with this. You get in front of a room full of people. They say, "Yeah, we want to hear about your product." I mean, first thing you do sequence wise is what? I mean, what would you recommend?
I try to understand everything about the customer. Even before I go into the room, I'd like to know who my audience is going to be. And frankly, I do a little bit of research. I find out what their role is. And then when I get in the room, the first thing I do is ask them to introduce themselves and tell me about what they do for a living. And the old story is, what keeps you up at night? What are the most important things that you have to provide to your internal customer?
Nice.
Because then you have to think on your feet, frankly. So you can't just throw up the PowerPoint or throw out a demo, and we see a little bit too much of that in our industry. We have to understand what they really need, and let's focus on that. People don't have as much time to spend with you anymore, so you have to really help them out, and you've got to have credibility. I can't overemphasize that, and that's something you don't get after a PowerPoint. You kind of earn that, and you earn that over maybe multiple visits or understanding your product and having empathy for the customer. And that's something that I want to drive home. And the good news is, I think there's people there that really get that. And I want to throw out one person who's speaking in one of the technology things. We know Aaron Gorka, who's one of the young, smart folks there. He's actually going to do a presentation on working with younger people in his business. He's got a business focus and he knows this, but he's going to talk about working with millennials and how his dad and his business has had to change and deal with a new generation of people coming in there. So that's actually one of the sessions we're going to have, and I think it's going to be very important for people to understand.
Aaron Gorka.
Go ahead. Yeah. Well, go ahead. Yeah, and technology. He is a dynamic. He's a dynamo. He's a former hockey player that he hasn't left the ice. He still has the same intensity.
Absolutely.
Well, the story I want to tell, and this is, this gets back to Ed really sort of understanding, having empathy. And I think one of the things that we don't have time to take risk, right? So, and I get more, sales calls from salespeople, every day. And I think what goes on in the mind of most buyers is, if you're cold calling somebody, the first thing they're trying to do is figure out how they can tell you, we're not interested, we don't need it, or whatever. But, Aaron presented us with this product. I ran it by our team, and they go, "Nah, we don't really see a fit." And I tell Aaron that, and he goes, "You know what? I respectfully sort of disagree. Would you give me the opportunity to prove it to you?" And I go, "Well, what do you mean, prove it to you?" "Let me just go make some calls. Let me sell some systems for you. If I can sell some systems for you in your territory and show that it can be done, will you consider taking us on after that?" And I mean, how as an owner are you going to say no to that? And he was just in the office Friday. He sold 2 more systems. So now we are proud, vendors of Ant Technology, but it was because Aaron, he got the sequence right. He didn't give up. He knew what to say when I said I wasn't interested, and he basically took it on. He didn't get his feelings hurt. He just took it on and he shifted the game around, and now he's got a loyal customer.
No, that's great. Those are the kind of, and I love it. I've seen that in a lot of the young people that are coming to this business. So I'm excited for that. So we just want to help them along. Like you said, it's all about the sequencing, just imparting some knowledge. When you've been around a long time, you learn a lot of hard lessons, and we certainly want to make it a little bit easier for people to learn going forward.
Now, is it true that they've got a sales, Tritium's coming out with a sales product called Ed in Your Pocket, where you basically, you're going to be monitoring control. You basically hook up to your phone so you can hear everything, and then in your ear, the customer will say something and you'll go, "Ask this question."
Well, Ed, I wanted to jump. You said something that was really important about the refinement of in deploying social media to the people making those web study programs or sales programs through the internet. Because you're right. We recently attended a summit where they had the talk was to sell like you are a teacher, sell like you're the teacher, look through the eyes of the teacher, or a nurse or a doctor. So if you go into a medical application, you're not trying to sell data, you're not trying to sell controllers, you're trying to say that your life, the challenges, your hard points, your pain points are this, and this is why this system helps you with the lighting, because we can help you get your patients in a better atmospheric mood and help with the circadian rhythms. But you guys are doing something very special at this summit that I think is going to be very novel, and it's a sign of the times and a sign of your ability to embrace the new things. You're going to have a competition. You're going to have the most innovative contest and the most innovative project contest. Tell us about that. And
yeah, what's really nice, we had done this a couple of years back, and we really felt that it really is something we should be doing. We need to spend more time talking about, again, more solutions. So we're going to have a competition called the Most Innovative Product, which will be, we want people to submit some of their latest products that they've done. And we're going to have a committee of industry people that are going to limit that down to like maybe the top 10. And we're going to bring those products and we're going to talk about them at the summit. And we're going to allow people with the Summit app to be able to vote for the top one. And we're going to give a very nice financial prize at the gala dinner. So we want people not only to show, we want them to showcase their new products and what they're doing. And it could be software, it could be hardware, it could be a lot of things. Now, but the other one I think is just as important is the most innovative project. And the idea is, okay, show us what you've done that's mostly innovative and what solutions did you solve? It used to be on the previous one, we said, well, we're going to give you points because you use lawn or BACnet, Modbus, and did this, that, and the other. But I think we want to take it to the point is, what problems did you solve uniquely? Like you said, how much pain did we ease? How did we help? And I think that's this whole idea of looking at it holistically is that, frankly, today with the tools that are out there, integration's pretty mainstream nowadays. But it's only good if it's got value. Only if it makes sense is what I used to and still tell everybody. Don't do it just to do it. Do it if it makes sense and add some value to it. So those programs we're excited about. We encourage everybody to please submit. You'll see a formal announcement come out with that this week about that, and look for that. So we're really excited about that as well. So
it's going to be great stuff. And listen, Ed, speaking of presenting, Ken and I want to thank you again for the marvelous job you did presenting the PID Award at the Control Trends Awards this year. You were one of the first winners, and you sort of epitomize everything that award's about. So thank you for that.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I think it's a great award. There's so many people deserve the award, but it's amazing in our industry just how many people do such a great job and have that passion and desire to do the right thing. So it's always a great event, and I love those types of awards where we don't reward things, we reward people.
Yeah, and to give you an example, PID, professionalism, integrity, and dedication, or passion, integrity, and dedication. And this is an example of it. So Ed's on the ballot. He wins it. He's on the ballot, and he comes and says, guys, it's such a great honor, but really and truly, I think, you win it once, you're in the club. We should give other people a chance because there's so many deserving people. Now, that's what a PID candidate does. Now, guys like me would just go, keep me on the ballot, keep me on the ballot, keep me on the ballot. I want as many as I can get, right? So that's why I'll never win that award. But it's a great example of the kind of person Ed Merwin is. And so, buddy, our industry's better having you in it. We appreciate you for all you do.
Well, we're all good because of the community, frankly, to be honest with you. I'm very fortunate to have worked with fantastic people in the community. And I think when you work together as a community and you have something to rally around, we all get better by doing that, I think. And I think that's something I think is probably a little bit unique in this part of our industry, in the control systems and system integration industry. I just think it's a lot of special people that we all get to interact with every day. So.
Well, I agree. And I think that we're starting to lure, I think, younger people. Where maybe 2 years ago when we started some of these conversations, or we tried to do an assessment where we're at, there was a study done that said, our industry was one of the fastest, it was the fastest growing industry in 2016 in North America, yet we were facing, critical shortages across the board. The folks at Realcomm, Ivicon just announced another interesting summary where they were saying how they called it the skills gap. And they're saying that some speculate that there are 1 million IT jobs and 500,000 facility jobs currently vacant due to a skills gap. Now, I think what you're doing, Ed, keep doing it. I think the whole idea, I applaud Jenny Graves and the marketing team at Tritium, because it's, as Eric always says, the story is the important thing. And when people hear the story, they are compelled to action. They leave with a feeling that they've got to get involved. And so as a call to the industry at large, I think we keep doing that. At the Control Trends Award Show, we were able to do it. Everybody can leave feeling that they really make an impact in our industry. And we have the parity of all these other industries like the banking, airline, or whoever, that the controls industry, the HVAC industry really and truly is an important industry that's thriving. And everything we can do to compel younger people to take a look at it helps.
Well, well, I got to tell you, I think Control Trends is really, you guys have been bringing the message to everybody, and it's been very important. There's very few places where you can go and learn about everything new every single week. So what you guys do is so important to the industry. You spend a lot of your own time, you're spending your Saturday mornings doing all this stuff together. It's a tremendous amount of work, and it really shows, because I think what you've done is impressed on people. The people at Realcom, Obicon, or they learn about it from you, and then we learn from them. So, but day in and day out, you're there saying, hey, being passionate and telling people what's going on about that. And I'll be honest with you, we're actually changing our product line. You talk about the young people coming in, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about at the summit are based on, where younger people want to go. Facility managers don't want to use a PC anymore. It's going to be mobile. And we're introducing some incredible mobile apps where basically everything you could do, we used to do on a PC, you're going to be able to do on your mobile phone. And you're not going to have to create special graphics for your phone. It's just going to work. And what's really cool is it's these programmers working with people like Gareth Johnson in Europe, who has been with us for many years, working with some very young, talented engineers to really rework our total mobile look and feel and how we do that. System database, we're doing things that are you do at one time in a JACE, and guess what? When it goes to the super, it just automatically serves up to the supervisor because of tagging and things like that. Cloud-based apps. Everybody, there's still a lot of people that want on-premise, and we certainly respect that. But a lot of smaller systems are used to cloud-based, and we see it moving that way. So there's just a lot of really, and again, the clouds are driving new drivers. We've come out and just introduced MQTT, which is kind of, think of that as the backnet of the cloud, right? So we're having to change because the facility directors of tomorrow are going to be, there's less of them, and we're going to have to be using artificial intelligence and analytics and that to help bring new solutions, right? Because of that shortage. So we see that we have to change a lot, and that's why this is probably going to be the most substantive change in our technology, frankly, since I've been with Tritium.
Wow!
Awesome.
Wow!
Wait.
So it sounds like we're at an inflection point, a pivot point, if you will, and the new realities are maybe going to start to hit us a little bit more. And it sounds like you guys are going to empower people with your technology to be able to meet these challenges.
And the good news is we've been bringing the community along the way. For this new release, we've had a lot of input from the field, and frankly, the field's the one that told us this is what we have to have now. So, we've got a great product management group, and they are really, like I said, and they're working extremely hard to get these things to the market. And everything I'm talking about will be, again, as I said, will be in beta and available within 60 days of the summit. So this is not stuff we're talking about blue sky. This is stuff that I've actually seen the demos. I've sat around with the engineers. They've asked me about the input of it. They've asked their customers about the input. So we're really excited.
Awesome. So Ed, I've got another question for you, kind of along those lines. It's a three-part question. So we're going to address this to systems integrators, distributors, and then other manufacturers. Okay, and kind of the way I want to phrase the question is, what is it they might not know that they don't know yet? Another way to ask the question would be, what do they need to know to be successful or do to be successful they might not be doing yet? And we can start with the systems integrator. And if you want to separate that from systems integrator to master systems integrator, then let's go to the distributor, and let's go to other manufacturers that might want to play in this space.
Wow, what a great question. So thinking about that, I think the biggest thing today is with any contractor, the first thing they want to do is just to estimate a job. And I think those days, well, that's great. There's a lot of business out there, but you have to go find the business now. It's not just going to come to you. So I think there's going to be this idea that you have to learn how to market your company as a system integrator. People are dying for really highly qualified, good systems integrators. And then you don't have to bid work anymore. You know why? Because you're going to be negotiating your work. So I think that's where the business is changing for most systems integrators. The other thing is the type of people you have. It's not one person doing the graphics or doing the network or doing the coding anymore. It's not unusual to have some very highly trained IT people on your staff, some graphic artists, so it's changing. It's not, where do you go find these people? Fortunately, the community college systems and even the universities realize they have to start offering classes to college students that talk about facilities and integration. Engineering schools are going to, I think, have to be the uptake, and the community colleges. And the other good trend I'm seeing is, and I hope this plays, is I've actually even talked to some school districts that want to have kids in high school that want to learn, technology and system integration to be able to get a great technical education and go right to work. It used to be, when I went to school, they called it shop, right? You learned how to do a little bit of carpentry and maybe a little bit of welding or something like that. Well, now I think the high schools realize some people really just love working in technology, and that's what they want to do. So I think there's going to be, I think the education community has to understand that some massive changes have to take place as well from a system integrator. So from a system integration standpoint, I just think more and more things are going to change. You're going to have to take on more responsibility. You're going to have to not say, I don't do that anymore. You're going to have to say, you know what, I don't do that, but I'm going to partner with somebody who does that. Said. So I think we're going to see a lot more partnerships. You don't have to have the best IT people, but you better have a good friend or a company you can work with that can help you do that. So I think people have to just kind of have to break out and look forward and see that these are changing, because the end users are forcing that. So from a distributor perspective, the same thing has to follow. As a system distributor, you not only are going to have to offer products, but you're going to have to offer expertise. You're going to have to understand. One thing I do want to say that's going to go is cybersecurity. Yeah. The federal government and even the military now says you're going to have certified people in cybersecurity that are available when you produce system integration now. Wow. So there's a whole new class of people. So as a system distributor, and both of you understand that business so well, I know you've modified your business to understand you've got to offer additional services and capabilities to your system integrators, because they can't maybe do all that. You might have to offer some, go find some specialized product for them, and you have to understand it. You have to offer them the training to be able to do that. So you're their regional office, right? You're their first go-to people that have their back. And again, if you're a system, you have to be a system and solutions distributor is what I'll say. And I think it's probably going a lot more from systems to solutions, because I think there's going to be much more of a services component even in the distribution side is what I'm going to predict. And I think that people are going to have more staff that don't just, handle the counter or don't just do valve takeoffs. They have to understand the system, and they're going out there calling on consulting engineers and end users and setting the stage for where you distribute, right? So you have to, you guys, Eric, you just been a fixture in your area for years, and Kenny, you have too. And I've been there with you. You kind of are the people that the owners go to say, all right, I need to do this. Now, who are your partners that can help me? So you're going to be the advisors to people to be able to do that. And I think that's where distribution has to go.
Well said. Well,
very well said.
And then now, so now more and more people have to respect the fact that, you know what, I need to work with solutions distributors and get my product to them, because then they're going to spread it out there. So I think there's a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to go directly to the contractor. And that's, there's models that fit that very well. Don't get me wrong. But I think that this dynamic is that there's going to be so many new products coming out there. Who's going to be the clearinghouse to figure it out? And I know a lot of your customers and customers of other solutions distributors, I know, they appreciate the fact that you're going to dig through and you're going to pre-qualify these capabilities. You can go buy 1 million, cloud-based energy apps today. Well, somebody's got to vet those out, figure out if it's the right model, figure out if it's the right technology, and support that in the field. So I would suggest to manufacturers and software people that they have to look at the entire community, not only from a technology, but how am I going to get it to the field, and how am I going to go through a support structure that supports that?
Ed, it's so interesting because I think that, distribution now can become one of the most important functions in the whole supply chain, or it could be one of the most worthless, depending on what the distributor does. And I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think one of the changes we've seen is the owners are getting better educated. And there's so many choices that they really need a trusted resource that they can go to sort of say, what do you suggest for this? And I'll give you a completely, different thing. Back when I got started, what brand do you had? We're the Honeywell guy, right? Because we had Honeywell and that was the way it was. And we still do have Honeywell, by the way. It's a great brand. Don't get me wrong. But as a distributor now, our approach has almost had to change. If we want to have a higher level conversation, if we go in and we just say, we're the Honeywell guy, okay, work this price up for us, do this bid. My approach now is I come in and say, we handle most of them. We're brand agnostic. Well, why are you brand agnostic? Well, because there's subtle differences in every single one of them. And depending on what your budget is and what you're trying to accomplish, we can help you with that. Well, what do you mean? Well, if money's a real issue for you, we can put together a hybrid system for you. We'll put a Jace on there. We might put some easy IO controls. We'll put the best of, smaller breeds, and that will save you a lot of money. It might give you it'll probably give you a great system. Now, if you're risk averse, then staying with a great company like Honeywell or Johnson or Siemens is your best bet. You might pay a little bit more for that security, and you might not. But, you get into a different level of conversation. And what we're trading on here really and truly, Ed, is integrity. I mean, if you ever steer somebody wrong once, that's it. You're done. So, there are times where we just have to look at it and go, you know what? That other brand you're talking to, based on what you're telling me, might be a better solution for you. So selling something just to sell it, you have to advocate for the customers, what I'm getting at, more
Right.
so now than ever. So
Absolutely.
you might lose an order. But one of the most powerful things I've ever done is say, look, you know what? I think this other might be a better solution for you. Customers remember that. So I get other calls. So you might lose a battle, but you're not going to lose the war. And what you don't want to do is win a battle and lose the war. So,
Yeah.
and it gets back to integrity.
I once had a distributor call me up and said, "Hey, what should I sell them? Which brand?" And I said, look, don't worry about whether it's my brand or not. Sell what's best for the customer, because that's going to pay everybody benefits later. And the other thing is, we have to understand, everybody doesn't make everything anymore.
Yeah.
Look, like I said, there's maintenance management. Artificial intelligence is coming out there. There's going to be virtual reality. There's going to be machine learning. Not every company is going to create that. So it's going to be more and more combinations of technologies that are going to be in the solution than 2 or 3. It could be 5 or 6 or 7. And that's where those have to be vetted people that work well in the community. And that's what's really cool about this year at the summit, is we have a lot of those people there coming in that weren't necessarily there before. Folks like Key to Act, they do a lot of maintenance management and those sort of things. And our friends at SkySpark that are talking about artificial intelligence this year and machine learning. Those are the things that not everybody can do. It takes a community to provide those.
Right.
And if you can't, you have to embrace that, because that's what the customers are going to demand. And it's the only way I think you're going to be successful in the long run.
Well, and I think that's a commonality between the systems the systems integrators, the distributors, and the manufacturers. I think it's going to be the most bitter pill for the manufacturers to swallow, that sometimes you have to provide a combination solution, which might mean you're working with your competitor on a particular job. So, and Kenny's got a word for it, which I can never say.
Competition. I learned that at a summit meeting in 2006. But actually, Ed, what you said there was probably the most succinct summary I've ever heard to date. And I think this collaboration that we're doing here, this, like, from your viewpoint, from Eric's viewpoint, and then to bring that question up was a great question, because you got the systems integrator, the distributor, and the vendor. But that clearinghouse concept, the pre-qualification, the capabilities, the filtering, and the support of the technology at the field level. That's the game. That's where the next move of efforts need to be, because you can't. Used to be that we tried to one size fits all, and as Eric said, that whole idea of just selling one brand almost is a liability. And I think even though you have some really strong players like that, their days are kind of their opportunities are limited, because your concept about that school thing, I saw some, it's not done yet, but there's a kind of a idea on the table where they're going to have a place for a high school level student to go in and design a house and make the house all IT to the max. So every component is integrated through the most simplified components of wireless or whatever on iOS or a different structure. But imagine this guy now coming to work, or this woman, this young lady comes to work, and her expectations are going to be, what are the handicaps? Why are all these barriers here that we have to jump over or go around or go through to get to, a successful outcome for a solution? And so I think that mindset that you threw out there is going to be, for all our Control Trends communities, this is going to be a very interesting episode, because I think you captured some of the wise ideas that these folks that we work with have to go back into their organizations and kind of insist on a different viewpoint, insist on a different way to accomplish our business, and wait, instead of just bidding on projects, let's go out and get them as a collaboration, as a team of people that we select as our partners, using the best technologies like Niagara 4 and what's to come, and really go out there and solve it. Because another great study we just got released again is we're wasting so much energy, and only 80% of the buildings that are 100,000 square feet and below are integrated. They have basically thermostatic control over a commercial facility that's wasting so much electricity. We can't build new generation plants, so all we can do is get better at the energy that we have. So,
well, and that's the other thing we can't forget, is we have to remember to keep buildings comfortable. I'm working on Honeywell is doing some internal training that I'm working with on connected buildings, and we're talking about, a lot of the new technologies that we keep hearing the buzzwords like blockchain and all that. But we all said is, if a building's not comfortable, and if it's not efficient and it's not safe, it's not an intelligent building. It's got to be comfortable, it's got to be efficient, it's got to be safe. If you can't do those three basics, then you better stop, because technology, you can fix those with technology, but you can totally obscure them with technology. So I think we have to push those basics. And our good friend Paul Oswald stated at Scott Cochran's meeting that the percentage of calls that come into CB Richard Ellis, it was over 60% are hot and cold calls. We haven't fixed that problem yet. So we've got, as an industry, have to take technology and fix problems first. Like, is it hot or is it cold? And then we can move on to really and efficient and safe. And then we can move on to maybe some of the cooler stuff,
Yeah.
there you go.
So Ed, I want to, I love this dialogue. So I want to expand my question out to the consulting engineering community from your perspective. What do they need to do different? What do they maybe not know that they need to know? Because to me, that seems like that is, that's accelerator right there. If we can get, commonality amongst that group in terms of, what some of us are seeing, and we got a lot of great ones. And I think there's still a lot that is, cut and paste, and the train guy, pays for my kid to go to college type stuff. So what would your advice be? Because we have a lot of great consulting engineers that watch the show. What would you say?
You really do, and I'm really pleased that you talked about consultants at the Control Trends Awards. Folks like Donnie that have been doing this forever, and there's a lot of great people out there like Rick Warner with OME Engineering and Chris Larry at EXP. I mean, there's just so many people that really have been doing this for a long time, and trying to do the right things. So how do we duplicate that? That is a really tough thing to do right now, because one, I'm sure the pressures of the consulting engineering business are no different than any others, right? Are they getting paid to do this? I think the good news, I think, for the consulting community is owners are starting to get it, and they know that they've got to hire highly qualified engineers that want to do this type of work, and that it's a little bit different. I will tell you, we're making so many more calls and been requested by some of the largest consulting engineers in the world and some of the largest cities in the world that we're making presentations to, that we didn't do that before. So I think people are really getting it. And I think actually some of them are seeing it as a much more profitable part of their business, because cut and paste, that's a commodity when you can cut and paste and do that. But when you go in there and you can say, look, I've got this problem I've got to solve, and I absolutely have to have my people comfortable, safe, and my buildings efficient. those times have changed. You've got to do a lot of studies. You've got to make sure, people are going to use mobile. They're not going to go walk up to a thermostat and change it. They're going to use their app right on the phone, and that's going to be their comfort app. And their phone is going to tell the VAV box what temperature that you vote for. So all this is going to change, and I do think that the community sees that. And I really do, and I think the universities are seeing that. I mean, we have some of the most progressive universities are doing have been doing system integration, things like that for years, like people like Stanford, University of Alberta, Virginia Commonwealth University have been a partner of ours for many years that have been, pushing the envelope on what you can do. And that way students learn about this. And then they go to work for these consultants. They want to do this type of stuff. It's exciting. It's a lot more exciting to do this, to be honest with you, do this type of business now. So I think that's the good news. I think engineers want to do this. They really like it. And I hope that the end users will say, you know what, I've got to treat this community maybe a little different than I have in the past.
Well, to your point, Eric and I got a email yesterday about the inaugural Twin Cities Intelligent Buildings IoT Working Group meeting for the new progressive engineers. It was an incredible success, lots of positive energy, like-minded people across the building industry. We were excited to see what this group becomes, but this came out of the Control Trends Awards of the most enlightened consultant engineer. And so there is a network coming, but this was Brad Kalt, Associate Vice President, Director of Technology Services of HGA Architects and Engineers. So you're right. And so that's what's so neat about this industry. We've seen, this industry come, the old progression from pneumatics all the way to whatever's coming next. But it has been an incredible journey. And I think we're at that inflection point you mentioned, Eric, that we're going to see this thing hit and just really change dynamic of it's going to hit a new set of people, new set of engineers. It's going to be the most advanced technology. And you're right, Ed, like Paul Oswald always says, fix the dang belts first, fix your equipment, get this stuff and running the way it's supposed to before you start talking about these,
right.
These heady subjects of analytics or whatever. Let's get down to basics and get really good at that and create the tools that we need to do that first. So,
and I think you've got disciples out there from the engineering community, like Brad and Donnie, that getting out there and telling their story. This is why this makes sense. So those are the things that are, I see as super positive.
Right.
And being able to do that. And again, people want to learn. And again, it's our job in our industry to train, to go in there and give really good training. Like I said, we've made a lot more trips to consulting engineers lately. We're getting a lot more requests where people, it's not because they want you to come in and give them lunch for an hour and do that. They really want to learn and understand, and they want help in writing specifications. As a matter of fact, one of the sessions we're doing at the summit is specifying analytics. Who knows how to write a spec on analytics? Well, now that you got to think about that now. So we've got Chris Lair with EXP who is going to talk about how they write and do analytics and share that with the community. So which I think is great. So.
Well, I've got an idea, and I'm the game show host of the controls industry. That's my talent. So, I'm thinking, Ed, we've gotten pretty successful doing live streaming training. And of our consulting engineer community, if you want to reach out in comments to let us know if you'd like this idea, we would love to maybe, Ed, have you come to Atlanta. Why don't we maybe live stream something specifically for consulting engineers? And again, we could record it. You could participate, via chat or whatever if you're actually on the live stream, and then we can archive it. We can make it available to other engineers.
I think it's a great idea. I'd love to do that. Like I said, it's my passion. For many years, I've been calling on consulting engineers and working with consultants my entire career. And like I said, I have a passion for helping buildings get built right from the get-go, and certainly we'll take you up on that.
Right, and then we are going to develop the Ed 2.0 app that goes right here in the phone, and you can basically you go in and talk to a customer, and the customer says, "We're not interested." Ed will whisper in your ear what to say next. So
okay,
we got to do that, Ed. We got to do that, man. We got to.
There's an app for that, as they say.
Okay. Right? There's an app for that, buddy. Well, listen, man. The summit is April 15th to the 17th. It's not too late to register.
Absolutely.
And don't just come yourself. I mean, it's New Orleans. It's going to be a great time. I mean, we have five or more people, and you get a discount, right, Ed?
Yep. So when you register, if you've got 5 people, you'll get an automatic discount of 10%. So, I really think the content is extremely valuable. So I think it's a great investment. I really do.
Awesome.
And you'll have a lot of fun to begin with. So it's very rare that you get a good investment and have a great time too. So it's a good combination.
Sure is.
We're looking forward to it. Our guest has been the one, the only Ed Merwin, the godfather of smart building
Intelligent building, yeah.
intelligent buildings.
Well done, Ed.
Ed, thanks so much, brother.
Oh man, it's great. I always enjoy doing this. So,
all right, brother, what do we have up next?
Well, you're going to tell us about lawn, and you know, sometimes we don't deliberately ignore lawn, but lawn kind of has changed. It hasn't been in the highlight video as often as BACnet, and I think some of the manufacturers made a decision not to have two communication protocols. Like they can do it, but they don't feature it as much as they used to. Lawn's very big in Europe, so why don't you tell us about the lawn post?
Well, I've got a question for you. I want to know from your perspective, because it seems like lawn really got its still its existence regarding the government. The government seems like it really adopted lawn early on as sort of a protocol. So it seems like there's a lot of it out there, and I know companies like Honeywell both offer lawn and BACnet. But it seems like, and again, I'm pleading my ignorance on this. It seems like there's a real trend towards BACnet. BACnet seems to be where things are going for the most part. Is that an accurate statement, Kenny, you think?
Well, the way it was explained to me was the Army Corps of Engineers adopted lawn
That's
as
right.
their specification. And so whenever you were involved in a Army Corps of Engineer specification, they typically specified lawn. And lawn, came to us, it was a very robust, a very solid network. But they had the negative consequence of buying the nodes, and so that probably hit the North American market incorrectly. Soon the manufacturers or the vendors included those charges in their controller, which was a very good idea. But when it first came out, it turned off a lot of people that they would have to have a credit card handy. And then when they had so many points, then they would call up, Lawn or one of their their agencies and then spend a credit card. It was like a gotcha thing that.
So it's a bad marketing thing, right?
Yep. I think if they had to do a do-over there, that would have never, ever happened. And because you're right, Honeywell, we still sell maybe like a 10 to 15% versus 80 to 85% or 90%, because we still have lawn out there that we support, but it's not as acceptable. We have to make a case for it. And then some of the large manufacturers don't really make any good lawn products like they used to. It's all BACnet. Certain manufacturers quit making lawn products. Schneider Electric with the Viconics thermostat, for instance, they stopped offering. Neptronics doesn't offer lawn. Some of the guys like even Siemens, they can do lawn, but they don't feature it.
Right.
It's more of an exception than a rule. So,
okay, so that sort of is a backdrop. I think one of the best kept secrets in our industry, at least in the U.S., these guys are huge everywhere else in the world, especially Europe, is a company called Loytech. And Loytech is like, dude, they are kind of like the Rolls Royce of controls, if you will. They just top quality stuff. You can see the video. It's actually a video where we interviewed Daryl Clayson, who is the national sales manager here in the U.S. and the salesman. So probably the reason you haven't heard of them is they just don't have a lot of people over here. Daryl's a great guy, but he is one guy. But we have a lot of luck with the Loytech stuff. It's rocket ship type quality stuff. They've got great displays. We sell a lot of their displays. So definitely check that out. If you need some Loytech, remember Stromquist or DMS Controls Group.
Well, yeah, they do. They have a great. In fact, they set the standard, I think, as far as pretty user interfaces.
Yeah.
They had the first one that was that glass. I remember it was so it was so sturdy and it's very intuitive. It discovers things well. It's a very good device.
You sort of really plug and play at the very best of plug and play. So check it out for sure. It's primarily lawn based. But if you have any questions or we'd love to get Daryl on the show. He's a busy guy. Like I said, I think he's the only guy that got North America, and he is a hustler. Very, very smart guy. Hustles a lot. You can see him in the video. But if you guys are interested, we can try to get Daryl on the show as well. So with that, big dog, it's Saturday. I mean, you got your sweater on, you've had your soup, man, it's time for you to go out and hunt something, kill something, or play something, right?
Well, I don't hunt, so playing sounds good. Actually, a movie sounds good. How about that Black Panther movie? Did you see it yet?
Well, I haven't. I hear it's just breaking all the box office records. So, my
Well, guess
wife's
what?
with a 5-year-old.
I saw it.
Is it
It's
good?
pretty awesome. Yeah, I saw it in Las
Okay.
Vegas in one of those gigantic.
Oh, like an IMAX theater?
It was at an IMAX theater at one of the casinos, the Palm.
Wow.
It's a good movie. It's fun. It's exciting. It's a Marvel comic style,
Yeah.
and he plays a great hero.
Well, we'll have to check that out for sure. But look, listen, dude, let's get to it, man. Let's, with that, Kenny Smyers, a special thanks to our guest this week, the one, the only Ed Merwin. Be sure to stay tuned to Control Trends because we're going to get you Ed in a box at some point in time. So thanks to Ed for that. Be sure to sign up for the Tritium Summit if you haven't already. And we'll be back next week. So special thanks to our Control Trends community for tuning in. So remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed.
All right, let me try it because I have it right here. Can we try it right now?
Don't know where I wanna go.